Hello there, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Samantha and this is my channel where I talk all about books. Anyway, today I'm coming to you with my best books of the year for 2021 because, oh well, Happy New Year. Although this is not the first video I've posted in the new year. But anyway, Happy New Year, but let's talk about last year because I meant to post this last year, but I didn't get around to it. So here we are. It's fine. Everything's fine. So I have 5 favorite books and 3 honorable mentions. I have to say my reading year in 2021 was not great. I feel like a lot of the books I read were very average. I also had like a pretty long reading slump and I actually took like quite a bit of time off BookTube, as you probably know if you follow my channel. I took a big break from BookTube last year because I just wasn't feeling very passionate about the books that I was reading. Even if I read a book and gave it like 4 stars, like I don't know, I don't really, like if I look back at the books I read last year, I'm like, oh, I read this year? Like, I don't know, there haven't been that many like standout books to me. I thought because I read like 58 books that maybe I would be able to have like a top 10, but no, we just have a top 5 and that's fine. 3 honorable mentions, which like aren't quite favorites, but I did really enjoy my time reading them last year, so they made the list, but only as honorable mentions. So with that being said, let's go through the honorable mentions. So first on my list, we have Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. Last year I read all 4 volumes that are out right now, and I really enjoyed these. I'm not even gonna tell you what they're about because everybody knows already or has read them or is not going to read them. These graphic novels were so cute, so wholesome, quite emotional at the same time, and I just thoroughly enjoyed them. Not a bad thing to say, but they're just not quite up there as like a favorite. The next book on my list is House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J Maas, which I like can't believe I even read last year. It feels like it was much longer ago. I just really enjoyed my time reading this, which was so surprising because I had been putting this book off so much. I think it was just so hyped that I didn't really have much interest in reading it, and then Mel at the very beginning of the year, she made a video where she read House of Earth and Blood, and I was just like, I don't know, that video just had me so intrigued in the book. I'll link her video in the card. It really piqued my interest, so I was like, I now have to read this book. And then I finally got around to it in April when I was on my Easter holiday from university. Oh my god, university, what a time. I miss it. And I really enjoyed it. Like, it's not a new favorite. It was definitely way too long, way too crazy, but it was fun. So I think I gave it like 4.5 out of 5 stars. I even like cried when I read that book, but I wouldn't count it as a favorite because it's not like I think about it a lot or anything like that. Like, I don't know, it was a fun time. My last honorable mention is the most bizarre book that I think anyone, if you know my reading taste, you would not expect this from me, but it was Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I say that because I am like not a classics reader. I barely ever read classics, but I read this and I had such a fun time with it. I think it helps that I have seen the movie many times, so I already like knew the story, and I think otherwise I probably would have like struggled a little bit with like the language. This is why I don't read classics, because okay, if you read a classic which is actually like from however many, like 300 years ago or whatever, or 200, I don't know, however many years ago. I don't know when Jane Austen was alive. Actually, you know what? Let's just look at my spreadsheet. 1813. Okay, 200 years ago. The language is different. It's not the easiest thing to understand. So I'm very grateful to the fact that I'd already seen the movie because I think it made me understand it and appreciate it so much better. Like, I actually laughed whilst listening to the audiobook. Like, I got the jokes. Like, I don't know. It was just such a fun time. Yeah, I don't know. I thought I would struggle with it a lot more, but I had such a fun time reading it. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. But like I said, it's not like a new favorite, but it was just so fun and like I just loved it. I really enjoyed it. Now we're moving on to my top 5 books of the year. This again is very surprising. I have 3 nonfiction books in my favorite books of the year this year, which is crazy. I have never really been much of a nonfiction reader, and I have 3 nonfiction books. That's 60% of my favorite books. Okay, I'm surprised. I kind of like didn't really realize until I looked at the list again, and then I was like, wow, that's crazy. Coming in number 5, we have Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. This is a book all about creativity, specifically with like kind of a writing focus. I read this in August when I really was feeling very stuck in a rut, and I read this and I felt such a creative boost. Also, I think I was like trying to get back into BookTube, but like really struggling. This book just really helped me. It really made me it did actually make me feel very creative at the time of reading it. I would love to actually buy a copy so that I can go back and like highlight things and go back to it when I need to. Do I think it's gonna be life-changing for everyone? No. Do I think it was life-changing for me? Potentially. I was actually planning to write a book as well for NaNoWriMo, and after reading this, it really made me feel inspired to do that, but I didn't do it in the end because I'm the worst. Anyway, I would still love to write that book at some point, but yes, I need to finish plotting it because I started plotting it and then I don't know, I think I got overwhelmed. So yeah, I just need to embrace it. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I would highly recommend if you feel like you need to boost your creativity. Maybe right now is the perfect time to read it because, you know, it's January, new year, new me, all that bullshit. Coming in at number 4 on my list is actually the last book that I read in the year, and that was The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I wish that I didn't hype this book up like everyone else, but I have to. It was such a fun time. If you don't know what this book is about, it basically follows our main character, Olive, who is a PhD candidate, and she essentially wants her best friend to date this guy that she was dating because they didn't work out, and she knows that her best friend is like really interested in him and he's interested in her, but her best friend won't go for him because she's like, no, you have a history. But Olive is like, no, I'm over it. She wants to prove to her that she's over it. So she tells her that she's going on a date, but she actually ends up going to the lab, and her friend comes into the lab and sees her there, and so Olive decides that the best course of action is to kiss the nearest guy, and it ends up being Adam Carlson, who is the like grumpiest professor in their entire school. He's like known for giving out really harsh feedback and bad grades, so he's not really well liked, and this is the guy that she ends up kissing. Basically, they both decide that it would be mutually beneficial to fake date, so they end up fake dating, and it just goes from there. I do think it was a little bit predictable. Like, I saw some of the twists that were gonna happen for sure, but that didn't take away from me loving it. I don't know, I just really loved it. I think part of the reason is because I loved Olive's character so much, and also I really enjoyed the setting of being at a university because like I just graduated in July and I miss it so much. So yeah, it was really fun to read about an academic setting but not have the stress of actually being in academia still. Anyway, I really loved this. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Coming in number 3 on my list is Cultish by Amanda Montell. This is a book all about language, and it talks about the language of cults and culty things such as, you know, these like exercise classes like Soul Cycle and things like that, as well as sort of like influencer culture. And this book was so fascinating to me. I feel like I say this a lot, but if you didn't know, at university I studied Spanish and Latin American studies with a minor in English language, which was basically just like linguistics mainly, and linguistics has always been something that's fascinated me a lot. So when I heard about this book, I was like, damn, I need that book now. Before I continue talking about it, if you guys have any linguistic nonfiction book recommendations like similar to this, not about cults, but I basically just mean like not like a textbook, that's boring, but if you have any like linguistics nonfiction books that you would like to recommend, I would highly appreciate it. Anyway, yeah, this book is so interesting. I feel like I learned a lot about, well, first of all, cults, which I didn't know about before, and it also just makes you think about word choice and how important language is in our society. I found it truly fascinating, and I would definitely reread it in the future. I even tabbed it, so when I go back and reread it, I can see what all my tabs were about. And yeah, I loved it. I thought it was so interesting. We're getting down to my top 2. So coming in at number 2, we have another nonfiction book. This is actually a memoir, and that is Know My Name by Chanel Miller. I read this book back in May with my friend Evie, actually. We kind of buddy read it. And if you don't know who Chanel Miller is, basically she was the victim in the Stanford sexual assault case that happened in, I forget what year now, I think it was 2015. And it basically is talking about her experience, first of all, being sexually assaulted, and then talking about having to relive that throughout the trial and dealing with the verdict. And it was an incredibly emotional book. It was very difficult to read, but with that being said, there were also parts which were just very uplifting, and the writing was gorgeous. I would love for her to write some fiction or even more nonfiction because her writing style was just fantastic. It was definitely a really tough book to read, but I think that it's a book that everyone who is able to read it should read it. I know that not everyone would be able to handle something like that. If you can, I think it's incredibly worth it. And coming in number 1 on my list is a book that sounded so good to me, but I still didn't expect to love it as much as I did. Anyway, that book is The one, the only, The Rose Code by Kate Quinn. I still think about this book regularly and think about how much I freaking loved it. It's a big book, but it is worth your time. It's like over 600 pages, but it's amazing. It basically follows 3 women during World War II, and they end up being code breakers at Bletchley Park, which was basically this place in Buckinghamshire where a bunch of code breakers worked during World War II, intercepting messages from other countries and decoding them and, you know, helping in the war effort. So yeah, we have that timeline, but then we also have a timeline which is 1947. It's a couple years after the war ended, and basically these 3 women who were really close during that time are now no longer on speaking terms. One of them has ended up in an insane asylum and has been accused of being a traitor, but she ends up contacting the other 2 and saying, like, I didn't do this and I know who did. We flip between what's going on in World War II and then what's going on in the like present day, or like the later timeline, I guess is probably a better way to say that. And we see how it all happened, and oh, it was just a masterpiece. Oh my god. I loved all of these women so much. They were so different, and seeing their friendships blossom was just like amazing. I loved it so much. We love a strong female friendship. We do. Seeing their relationships unfold, it was just beautiful. Also, like, so sad. Oh my god, so much sadness in this book. I don't know, I really, like, I don't know how else to express how much I loved this, but just like, if you enjoy historical fiction, please pick it up because it was amazing and I would highly recommend it. Anyway, but yeah, so those were my favorite books of the year. I loved them all. Truly the best. I don't really have much else to say. I thought this video was gonna be longer than this, but I don't know. I'm really bad about talking about like things that I love. I'm much better at talking about things that I dislike. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I love to complain. That's all that I had for this video. I hope you liked it. If you did, please give a thumbs up. And if you're new here, feel free to subscribe down below. And please let me know what your favorite books of the year were. I would love to know. If you have a video, you can just link that and I can go check it out. Or you can just type them down below. And if you made it to the end of the video, leave me like the sparkle emoji because of my lights. They just made me think of it. So yeah, leave me the sparkle emoji down below. And I will see you very soon with another video. Bye.